Thank you for joining us today. It's the Bridles and Bibles podcast. I'm Jesse Merrifield, and today we have with us my best friend and our event coordinator, Makaylee Reed.
Hello.
So today I wanted to share with you guys Makaylee's amazing story and how she has conquered so much, and then how she managed to end up being Bridles and Bibles event coordinator and how she came to be with us. So first off, can you please share with us your amazing testimony?
Yeah, so, I always kind of like to start kind of like a joking way. Be careful what you pray for, I guess. I was born and raised knowing Jesus. The first time I asked him into my heart, I was like 6 years old at a VeggieTales concert. And so I've always known him, but I didn't feel like I had a way or something that I can connect to people in some sort of way. And so I was like, God, I don't have a testimony. I'd love to have something where I can share and bring people to God. And so God was like, well, here you go. So my second term of college, it was winter term, and so at the time I lived in Vail, Oregon. I was just broke college kid, so I drove an 86 Nissan hatchback. So no airbags, crappy car, right? Because broke college kid, could barely eat. So I was headed to school, and I got in a head-on collision. And it was really bad. It was so in Eastern Oregon, we have parts of the wintertime where it's super foggy, where you can't see anything. And it was probably the most foggiest day that I've ever seen that we've had, and you could only see 5 foot in front of you. So like I said, I was going to college, and the gal that hit me was late for work, and she was going to be a nurse at Valley Family in Vail. And because she was late, she decided that was a good time to pass. And so when she passed, she ended up hitting me head on, but right before that, she pushed another guy off the road. And so it was just this really big thing. I broke a lot, by the world's standpoint. I shouldn't be here just based on my neck injury alone. I don't remember the wreck specifically because God shielded me from all of that, but hearing the stories of just how God had everything lined up in order for me to make it. All of the top first responders were having a meeting that morning, and so all of them responded to my wreck, and the top state troopers, and because they couldn't life flight because it was so foggy, they ended up having to do a life flight ambulance and take me to Boise. And my youth pastor at the time was a few miles behind my ambulance, and everybody, him and then my parents and stuff, were praying please Lord, open up the fog, so that way Makaylee can get to the hospital. So Pastor Stephen said that he literally watched my ambulance go through and the fog lifted, and then as soon as he got to that spot, it was socked in fog. And so it just
wow.
little things like that. And then at the hospital, I had the top nurses and the top doctors. In Ontario, Dr. Foote, he is an orthopedic surgeon, and he doesn't really do much anymore. And so, especially being in the hospital, and he was actually there doing patient rounds when I came into the hospital. He was there to get me ready to be transported, and stabilize me. So it was really cool to watch God put everything in place in order for me to still be here.
That's amazing. And obviously, I'm so thankful that you are, because you are my best friend. So you and I actually knew each other as kids a little bit because of the little bit of 4-H that I did, 2 or 3 years, I think. And
and our moms too.
Yeah, I know.
Crazy that we didn't know that until a year ago or something.
Yeah, our moms actually ended up going to high school together, and we had no idea. And it's interesting how God sets people up in your life, but at the same time doesn't put you together until it's time.
Yeah, because you need each other.
Right, exactly. Because he did that for you and I, because we knew each other in college, but you and I weren't super close until we started running flags together. So
yeah, and that was kind of Darby too. Another one of our good friends. She got me hooked up to start doing grand entry coordinating with her and stuff, and we needed flag girls, and so Darby was like, oh, let's ask Jess. I'm like, oh, that's great. And so it just kind of hooked us up back again, because like you were saying, we know each other in college and stuff, and then we just like we hung out a little bit, but we were both doing like the college thing, and
right, yeah.
you know.
I think I was a little more into the partying than you may have been. I was pretty bad about
Maybe.
it.
But it was super fun though, because I mean, we hadn't really talked and stuff, but I still followed you on like Facebook and like social media and stuff. And so like when you and Brady got together, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it's been crazy watching, all of our lives like come together, and like you and I are so stinking close now. And it's not just you, like our family and everything like that. Like her parents came over today and just made dinner and hung out, and our daughter calls your parents mom and dad. I mean, all of us call them mom and dad at this point now. Like, and I love how God has just put us together, but giving you this amazing testimony at the same time of survival and perseverance. And not just that, but like the healing that comes afterwards. Because I know you and I've talked about that a lot, and how you've even struggled with your writing and stuff and getting back into it, being like, well, I'm not as good as I used to be. But it's like, yeah, but look at the story that you have to share with people now, and how amazing that is.
It is, yeah. It's one of my biggest things is I've always tried to have like a positive outlook on life, and no matter how crappy it is, like going on in that certain amount of time, like just keep smiling,
right?
No matter what, always smile through it. So I was in the hospital for 45 days total. 11 of those days I was in ICU, and 9 I was in a drug-induced coma, just because they didn't know how bad everything was.
Right.
And so my nurses and my doctors and stuff, whenever they would come in, I'd always have like a big smile on my face, and they're like, you're always like so positive and so happy, even though you're in here in this situation, you're still smiling. And I was like, yeah, because no matter what, like, it's just gonna make your day so much worse, if you don't smile. If you're just super gloomy about it, it's not gonna lift you up at all. And of course, also I had the Lord, telling me it's gonna be okay, like, I got you.
Yeah.
You're here because I got you.
Yeah. And what an amazing way to get closer to God, to go through something that's so difficult. And I think that's something we really take advantage of is, oh man, this situation's so hard and everything's so rough and stuff. And like, I feel like a lot of times we kind of look down on God almost. I'm like, man, why can't you get me through this and stuff? But it's through the hard situations that you become close to Jesus.
Yeah.
And sometimes I kind of feel bad for people who haven't gone through situations like that. Like, obviously, you don't wish anything bad on people, but to be able to have the privilege almost to walk through fire and come out the other end, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And you get to help people who've been through things like that now, too.
Yeah. One thing I don't understand is like those people that have gone through those things and then they look at it like negatively, are just like, oh, I can't believe, God is supposed to be so great. Like, why am I going through this? Or why is this person going through this? But it's like, if you look at it the other way, like, yes, we're human, so it's hard to see the other side until you get there.
Right.
Like when this happened to me, I didn't know about all of the millions of blessings and the people I've gotten to talk to and meet and like tell about the Lord and just like have that open up, or that thing where I can open up that conversation about Jesus. And, and you don't see that until you get there,
Right, exactly. It reminds me of that verse in Proverbs where he says, lean not on your own understanding. God's got a plan later on down the road. And even just the little plan of him bringing me you, like, I cannot believe, because I remember not this last year, the year before, when I was like, okay, I started it when I was pregnant, and then the next year I'm like, okay, I'm gonna really buckle down, I'm gonna get this going and stuff. And I tried to make t-shirts and do all this stuff, and we had our little meet and greet, and I think we had 3 people show up, and I was like, what am I doing? I felt awful too, because I felt like I was tooting my own horn because I was the only one who was doing it. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I want to do this with you. And then got Darby in it and all of these people, and now we have like a whole team of volunteers, and Bridles and Bibles has blown up. And it's entirely because of this team that we have, because of you and your family and the people that we've had volunteer and come in and do this, and to watch it grow, and like how good you are at planning the events and all of the fundraisers and things. Like, there's no way Bridles and Bibles would have grown without you guys. There's no way I would have been able to do it, because I would have just been like, what on earth am I doing? Because I'd never done anything like this before.
Yeah.
And so to have you on our team, have your family on our team, and do all of this together, and then get to go like run flags and stuff like that too. Like, what an amazing blessing. in our lives, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and when you asked me to do this, I was just like, oh, yeah, let's do it. And I've seen myself grow, like I never would have thought I could have put on that fundraiser that we just did, you know. It's really cool to see me grow and get to be a part of like all of your ideas growing and helping you make it bigger, and it's great.
What was your first thought when I asked you to do this?
Oh gosh, I was like, all right, she's my best friend. I don't trust her. I'm like, God help us.
Oh no, here we go. Wrapped up in Jess's crap again.
I know, especially that horse show too. Because I mean, I have like the base part of like being a part of a horse show and stuff from being in 4-H and things. Yeah. But I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know how to do this. You want me to do what?
That's exactly how I felt the entire time. Like people kept coming up and asking me questions, and I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I'm sorry, I have no idea what's going on.
Well, and it's cool too because God constantly shows you people that He's put into your life for like future things that He prepares you for. For like the silent auction part. My aunt is big into putting on fundraisers and stuff like that for Christian schools, and she just put on the big FCA gala this last weekend.
Wow.
For Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and so to get to meet with her and bounce ideas off of her and be like, hey, how did you do this, and take those ideas, and so it's cool to see the people in your life help you grow too.
Do you think that there maybe is like a possibility of a career in this sometime? I mean, obviously we're keeping you here at Bridles and Bibles. No one's allowed to steal you. But, our hope and our goal is that eventually Bridles and Bibles gets big enough to where we can, help pay our volunteers. But do you think that you'll in the future want to help do this like more in other areas and other foundations and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. I mean, that's how my aunt started, Yeah. And she's just continued to get better and do bigger ones. So, I mean, her start was at the Ontario Christian School. Now they asked her to do this big, huge, like, fundraiser for the FCA, and she was telling me they was in this big fancy hotel in Boise and stuff, and she was telling me about some of the auction items that they had, and it's just like some fancy stuff, man.
Wow.
And so it's definitely a possibility. I mean, you never know what God will bless your life with. But right now I'm having a lot of fun, doing it with my best friend.
Pretty good. So what was it like to ride again after your accident?
Gosh, it was so cool. Obviously we had to like ask the doctor, is it okay? Physical, like OT surgeons and stuff, they were already fine with it. Right. But my biggest one, I had such a really bad brain injury. Yeah. My neurologist was the one that I had to like okay with it, because if I came off or fell off or something, like it could restart everything all over again.
Right, yeah.
And so he was just like, yeah, you can get on, like I know like horses are a big part of you, a big part of your life, but all you can do is sit for now. Like you can't move around. If you walk somewhere, like you have to walk slowly. And so the first time I got on, we were branding cows at our family ranch in Vail, and so I had my old 4-H mare that I was talking about earlier, and so at this point I was still on a walker, and so I couldn't get up by myself yet. So my dad and my Uncle JC picked me up and hoisted me up there, and I have these pictures too with my dad on one side looking up at me and my uncle on the other side looking up at me, and they have like big smiles, along with my giant smile. And so I'm sitting up there, and it just felt so good to be on her again. And of course me, where I'm like, I'm not gonna listen, whatever. Yeah. And so I'm like trying so hard to get that mare to move, and she would not budge.
Really?
She wouldn't. She's just like, nope, like you're supposed to sit here, and we're not going anywhere. Like it was just so crazy how animals can like feel that. You know?
Yeah.
Like God gave them these minds to feel those kind of things.
Yeah.
And it's so phenomenal to see God's creations, and how, even though you're just like, oh, come on, I'm the boss. But she's like, nope, no. Like, so it's like God told her,
Yeah. He was like, no, you sit here and you don't move.
Yeah, exactly. It was so cool.
I've definitely noticed my horses do that whenever, like, Layla's on him and stuff. Sloth acts completely different. He could see the scariest thing in the world, and he'd stand there and just look at it if she's sitting on him.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So what are some of the blessings that came after the accident?
Oh, gosh, so many. Like, and I think part of those things is what makes, I mean, my rec and stuff wasn't easy. Like, I still hurt every day, and it makes stuff way harder than it would have before. But getting to see the people that I've touched and the things that I've gotten to do and the blessings that God has given me makes it so much easier. So one of the biggest blessings, Benny and Judy Ruda, they're a big part of my life. They're kind of like adopted grandparents in a way. They used to put rodeo Bible camps when I was in middle school, and so I went up quite a few times and was a part of that, and it made me such a better rider. And then, as where I got baptized in a big old horse trough at the rodeo Bible camp. And so after I got in my wreck, they were there and came and saw me in the hospital, and they got me hooked up with a gal named Donalyn Quintera. She's out of Texas, and she is the founder of Western Wishes. So it's kind of like Make-A-Wish except cowboy style.
Nice.
And so she gets young cowgirls and cowboys that have had like a traumatic thing happen to them or a traumatic illness or something like that, and they're wish kids, just like Make-A-Wish, and takes them and their families, and they get to go and do these things. So they took me and my parents and my little brother and took us to NFR in Las Vegas. And so I got to watch 8 Seconds with the guy that played Tough. And I also got to have breakfast with Luke Perry.
Wow.
So that was so cool, because that's like my favorite movie. So it was so funny. My little brother was like 13 at the time. And so he was like, there's all these things to do, and you've seen that movie so many times and blah, blah, blah. Like, I want to go see Vegas or whatever. And I was like, yeah, but how often do you get to watch the movie with like actors from the movie? Like, you're sitting here, I don't care how many times we've seen this movie. It's happening, and I got to go to church service that Reba McEntire's little sister puts on.
Wow.
And so I got to like watch her and her husband and stuff, and Reba was in the crowd, but she was there for her sister, so we didn't get to talk to her or anything. But and then Lane Frost's actual parents were there, and they actually like gave me a Bible when they signed it and put a message and stuff in it. They set it on a table next to us, and somehow it didn't get like brought to me, and so we don't know what ended up happening with it, but it was still like a cool story. It would have been really cool if we would have been able to get that, but regardless, it was so cool to get to fellowship with them and talk about the Lord. And she kind of told me about Lane a little bit, and that right before he passed away, he ended up getting closer to God again and stuff.
Wow.
And so it was really cool to like get to know that, because you watch the movies in Hollywood, obviously not all the time, like unless they have those specific movie producers don't put that stuff in there, and so it was really good and comforting to know that, one of my heroes did end up getting close to God again. And then now that I'm older and I'm kind of out of the program, but not like just in that aspect, now I'm an ambassador for Western Wishes, and so I get to take kids and do those wishes, see a kid do that whole thing like how I got to, and
that's amazing.
And so that's probably been the biggest blessing, and the continuing of it,
right?
And continually get to try to find like wish kids to hopefully do another one with them. And then just the other biggest blessing is like the one that you brought me, like getting to do this with you, and getting to talk about Jesus and the Lord, and just with like work. I see it with work too. So I'm a vet tech at Caldwell Vet Hospital, and some of the girls have come to our fundraisers.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, and so like get to talk with them at work and just watch God just pop up in different spots where things that we wouldn't talk about before, where some of them are like, I kind of want to start going to church again, or just different things like that.
I've definitely
God
noticed that
bless
with
them.
some of my own friends too. As I started doing this and stuff, they're like, what is this like for you? And you know, they want to like kind of look at it and go to church and stuff like that. It's definitely a huge blessing. What was your relationship with God like after your accident?
It's never wavered. He's always been right there. I mean, there's no way I would have been able to go through all of this with a smile on my face, you know? But there is some times where something will happen or something will start hurting. I'm definitely better with physical pain than I am emotional.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, some life stuff happened, like, 4 years after my wreck or something like that. And I feel like I dealt with my wreck a lot better than I did with those emotional things.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know, my walk with the Lord never wavered when I got in my wreck. Later on, I felt like it did in some of those emotional things.
Right.
But not that I didn't know that he was there and he was holding on to me, because even though I had certain things happen in my life, he was right there and he held on to me, and could have gotten a lot different than they did if he wouldn't have been. So I knew that he was there. I just wasn't aligned completely.
Right.
I was in the very beginning of my wreck situation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Or you have like those ups and downs with like life and things.
Yeah, I had a couple of those.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, no. It's just as hard for me as it is for anyone.
Yeah.
Even though you have these situations and things that happen to you, it's still hard. You still try to do life on your own. You're like, oh, I got this. It's fine.
Yeah.
Or you lose that patience. Like, patience is so hard for me.
You and I have that in common.
With everything. So hard. Especially, like, the life stuff. Because I'm 28 years old and I'm like, I should be married already. I should have kids already. I should have all these things. And I don't yet.
Yeah.
And so I feel super behind and a ticking time bomb. And I just have to take a step back and remember God's got me.
Yeah.
And God's timing.
Yeah. You and I have had that conversation a lot too. But I think that that's going to be something that God's going to continue to use in your testimony. Someday when you are married and you do have kids and stuff, think of like your ability to help girls be patient in that era when they want to be married and want to have kids, because that's what our bodies tell us to do. And I know I wanted it really bad, and I felt like I was getting old, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm too old, like I need to be married, I need to have kids, and I'm not yet. And it's stressful and it's hard. I was really worried, am I going to be able to have kids by the time that I get married? Like,
right.
Am I going to find the right guy? And eventually you just kind of step back and you go, okay, God, I want a relationship with you first. And I think that is the number one thing, is not just having a relationship, but wanting a relationship with God first. And sometimes that's just not easy. It's hard, you know?
Yeah, it is super hard. Yeah, to just give it to him. I'm also one of those where I'm like, okay, God, it's yours. And then I'm like, wait, hold on. Wait. I'm not ready yet. Give it back, hold on.
Yeah. I think I've done that many times. I always think about when I come to situations or I have problems and stuff, I think of like I have my own little shelf, and then God's got this library of shelving. He can hold it all. He's got it, you know. I've got like this little tiny like Hobby Lobby decorative shelf that's supposed to hold like, I don't know, maybe like a picture frame and a candle or something like that. And I just keep piling all of this crap on it that it's not meant to hold. My shelf's like barely hanging onto the wall. And I look at this shelf and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is why I'm so stressed. This is why I'm so overwhelmed. And so I visually try and think about like me taking this stuff off of my shelf and putting it on God's. And sometimes there's things that are too heavy that even I can't lift. And I'm like, God, I need you to take that one. But I will, like, I'll go over here and I'll take it back off of God's shelf and be like, and then I'm like, wait, crap, I can't do that. And you go put it back. And then you take it back again. And you're like, no, stay there.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I thought about, so I'm a vet tech, right?
Yeah.
And that was probably one of, like, my biggest accomplishments. I mean, I've had, like, other accomplishments, since I've gotten my car accident. Like, I still showed a market lamb my last year after my wreck and stuff, like with my one little forearm crutch, and the judge was super great and let my dad like stand in the ring with me, and let me use a halter and stuff, because obviously I couldn't use both hands to show my lamb. And so I had my one forearm crutch and my halter on my lamb, and I could still like set her up and things, but my dad was right there just in case, just as God is right there to grab you when you need him. So before I got in my car accident, like through high school, I really want to be a vet. That was my goal. So I went to TBC, I did the transfer degree through animal science, and then I was going to transfer somewhere else. But then my second term of my first year of college is when I got my rec, right? And so that kind of just flip-flopped everything, which I still ended up finishing college. The doors finally opened for me to be a vet tech. I know that I could have done it. Like, God would have made it possible for me to be a vet still, but I'm already at this point in my life and my body is so broken and it hurts all the time. Maybe we'll just do the vet tech thing, which I love it. I absolutely love it, and it's so good. So there was a point at my lowest. I was like, why am I even doing this? Like, God, I don't understand why I decided to try and be a vet tech. Obviously, I'm terrible at it. Maybe I'm not supposed to do this. And so Mom and I went to Walmart to get some things, and we're in the chip aisle, and there's a sweet older guy. I was trying to, like, reach the top shelf of the chips, and he's like, here, let me get that for you. The sweet old gentleman, and he got it, and he's just like, you know, you have, like, this aura about you. He's like, and starts talking about God with me, and he's just like, I can feel it. Like, are you in, like, the medical industry or something? I was like, oh, I'm a vet tech. And he's like, I can see that. You're great. You got this. This older man in the chip aisle at Walmart is like, dude, you got this. It was just so crazy.
Wow.
Like, just how God has those little things that he does sometimes.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, girl, you got this. I got you. Whose daughter are you?
That's
And
amazing. Holy cow.
It was crazy, you know, in Walmart, of all places. It's just like, yeah, I can see that. You're a vet tech. And then we just had this whole conversation. And then when I got in the car and Mom was like, see, I told you.
I totally see Mom doing that. I told you. That's hilarious.
You know, and it's just little things that he puts in there
Wow.
all the time.
That's fantastic. That's so amazing. I can't believe that. You know, it's interesting. Like, I feel God every once in a while tug on my heart. He's like, oh, go talk to that person. And I'm like, I don't want to. But, like, how important it is. I remember when I was kind of starting to get really close to God and, like, trying to, like, listen to him and hear him the most. I was after work. It was like during the winter time, so it was already dark, even though it was like 6:30 or something. I went to the gas station and I'm pumping my gas, and there's this lady who's grabbing trash. Like, she worked at the gas station, right? Yeah. She's like grabbing the trashes and stuff that are at all the pumps. And I'm standing there and I hear him tell me, he's like, go give that woman $10. And I'm like, what? No, I can't do that. That's so weird. She's gonna think I'm crazy. And I hear him, like, in my head, like, go give that woman. Like, it was like, do it. And I'm like, ugh. And she, like, walked back inside, and I was like, fine, I'll do it. It was so nerve-wracking. It was so crazy. And I'm like, all right, I'll do it. I got $10 out of my wallet. I, like, stuck it in my pocket. I got it all prepped and stuff like that. And I ran in there, and I was like, hi, this is going to sound really crazy, and I'm super sorry, but God told me to give you $10. And so I took the $10 out of my pocket. I handed it to her, and I was like, have a good night. And I ran. And I have no idea what came of that. I have no idea why he had me do it. All I know is that I was obedient, and I did it, even though it scared the crap out of me. And I hope that for whatever reason, that, like, helped that woman the most. And, like, whatever it was, I hope that it worked. But I was just like, this is so weird.
I definitely see myself, like, getting better now than I was. Like, my grandpa, my mom's dad, he is one of those Christians that has, like, no fear. Like, he's just like, oh, I have no idea who this person is, but can I pray for you? Can I pray with you? You know, and just everywhere he goes, sticks Jesus in the center of everything. And
I love that.
And I see my grandparents be like that, or, like, have hardships and go through these things and then just, like, never waver.
Yeah.
You know?
That's amazing. Do you know Jimmy Mason?
It sounds familiar, yeah. Names are hard for me. I have to, like, see them.
Jimmy Mason's this older guy. He's a horse shoer. He's been shoeing my grandmother's horses for years. I've known him since I was little. He is the nicest man I've ever met in my entire life. Yeah. I have never seen that man have a bad day. Like, I'm not kidding you. Sometimes it's mind-boggling. And, like, I love him so much. I look up to him so much as a Christian because he is so happy. He's always smiling. He's always happy to see it. He's always right there. And, like, for me as a person and as, like, a child of God, I hope that I get to that point someday.
Me too.
I hope that I get to that point where, like, the world doesn't affect me and I am so happy like that every single day. Yeah. Like, all the time, 24/7. Like, I don't know how he does it. I don't. Like, something bad happened. He's just like, okay. Yeah. And you're like, how are you still okay?
Yeah.
Like, holy cow, it's amazing.
Me
though.
too. Me too. I mean, I definitely try for that.
I do want to touch base on your dad a little bit. Like, obviously, like, you have a very, I would say, almost unique relationship with your earthly father that you don't see very often nowadays. Like, not that all dads are like this, of course, but your dad specifically, who I've completely adopted as my own father now. And Rob works with us here at Bridles and Bibles. He doesn't even have an official title.
Doer of all things.
His official title is horse dad. What was it like growing up, just like from my own curious standpoint, to have such a not just involved father, but a Christian father like that?
Yeah. Oh, so awesome. You know, both my parents, they've made me who I am. And to watch my mom and dad have the relationship that they do has been such a blessing. And then watch my dad, how he just gives and gives and gives, you know, and adopts everybody and takes everybody in. And, like, even though he could go and work all day long and come home and still, like, help with dinner or do chores and just continue, like, he literally, like, helping with, like, produce stuff for Bridles and Bibles. Like, he'll go to work all day long and then still come and help with things. Or, like, when I was younger and doing 4-H and he was ditch riding, like, he would go and ride ditch early in the morning so that way he could come and help me clean my stalls and help me with my horses or my cows.
Wow.
You know, he just is such a giving, like, will give literally the shirt off his back to anyone, even if he doesn't know them.
Do you think that because of the strong relationship that you had with your dad, do you think that helped you with your faith and your relationship with God?
Yeah, I think so. You know, having those role models in your life, I feel like helps you a lot.
Yeah. I know for me personally, my parents split up when I was like a year old, and then my mom moved us all the way over to Portland, and my dad lived in Boise. And so, like, I didn't get to see my dad very often. He started a new life with another family and stuff. And me and my dad have a really good relationship now. But the way that we grew up, it was rough. And I feel like I had a really hard time learning how to trust Jesus, because I felt like if I couldn't trust my real dad, then how was I going to trust him? And I think that that's something that a lot of people go through. And so to be blessed to have a relationship with your earthly father that you know you can always rely on. Because I remember that, like, when you and I started getting really close, that was like one of my big surprises was to see your relationship with your dad, and then have your dad just be like, yeah, you're my family now too. And I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, it was confusing at first because I hadn't really been around a lot of fathers who were like that.
I feel like trust thing that he has is definitely hereditary, because I'm just like him in that sense. You know, it takes a lot for me not to want someone in my life.
Right.
And he's the same way. Having parents together and have the relationship they do helps me so much, because, you know, like, I want that. Like, there's one thing that my grandpa does for my grandma, and he still does it to this day. They've been married for 54 years. And he puts her jacket on for her and, like, takes her hair out of her, like, collar of her jacket every time they leave.
Wow.
And that's just, like, a huge sentiment for me.
Yeah.
Like,
such a small thing, I'm sure, but to, like, help affect your life and see how relationships should be. Yeah. And how a man should take care of you.
Yeah. And my parents are the same way, you know, to, like, watch my dad provide. And then my mom has such a giant, huge, loving heart. And so does my dad. Both of them are just like, just come be mine. It's okay. Yeah. I love you.
It's been such a blessing for Brady and Layla and I to be welcome in and a part of your guys' family. We even have relationships, like, with your uncle and your grandparents. Like, we go to your family functions. And I remember when you had the birthday party for Dad this last, a couple months ago, right?
Yeah, in December, yeah.
Yeah, and...
yeah, well, 50-0.
I know. Brady and I left, and we were kind of in awe, because our families aren't like that. Our families are a lot different. And we were amazed that, like, you and Mom and your family said, put all this work into having this big birthday party for your dad. You know, you got him a horse, and you got him, like, he got, like, the spade bit. I was all proud because I'd walked in there with a handmade gift, and I was like, Dad's gonna love this. I'm the best gift at the party, and, like, nowhere close. But
he loved it so much.
Yes, he did. But it was really amazing for Brady and I to watch and be like, holy crap, there are families who love each other this much, who want to be together this much. And like, not only to watch it, but now be invited into it. Like, not like, oh yeah, you're blood, so I guess you're going to come. It was like, no, we choose to have you now. And like, for us, like, that's something we crave so much. And we're like, holy crap, this is absolutely phenomenal. And like, to watch that and not, and like this cool, awesome Christian cowboy family.
Yeah. Yeah. When one thing, which I hope that, you know, it's not something that is continued when I have kids someday. So when my mom was 16 years old, she actually got in a really bad car accident.
Really?
Yeah, so like her right hand, she rolled her SUV and it ended up going out the window. And so I can't remember the how far it slid on her hand, but it took everything down to the bone, and she had to have like bone grafts and stuff, and so she can't fully make a fist. And I got in my wreck, and so my mom's parents had like the same kind of feeling like my parents, you know. And they had to completely give it to God. And so when I was in the ICU, like, my parents just had to completely hand me to God and be like, here's our daughter. But to see that as a parent, be so at your lowest and still come out with your complete faith.
Right. I know for me, becoming a parent, I knew one of the big things that I had to do was hand my daughter over to God. And when you're a mom, especially a new mom, there is nothing harder than to let go of that control, let God be the one who takes care of her and guide her life. You can do everything right, you can put it all out there, but there is nothing harder than letting go of the idea that you don't have control.
Yeah.
And being there to just help her.
Yeah.
And it is so difficult, but it is exactly what needs to be done in order to raise a kid well. Because otherwise, I feel like you just suffocate them too much, you know?
One that definitely like pushes me to have that faith, seeing how my family have dealt with things, or how my mom still continues to deal with like her wreck, and that she's always have kept the faith. And that's where it boils down to, God puts these people in your life to help you in those types of situations, and lean on each other and show you that even though there's a storm in your life, you know.
Yeah. I think those are those situations where it's faith breakers. Either it's going to get it stronger or it's going to break it. So one of the things that we have coming up next is tryouts for our show team. So tell me how you're feeling about that a little bit.
I'm a little nervous. I'm feeling better now. You know, at our horse show, it'd been, gosh, I don't even know, like 8 years since I ran a pattern. After my wreck and getting back into riding, my body was so broken that I just had to relearn how to do everything all over again, including riding. Like, my right knee, my right leg was pretty busted up, and so super weak. And like my grip was terrible, and I flopped around like a floppy chicken when I first started riding again. It was terrible. Oh my goodness. Like watching videos of then when I started riding again to like now, and I'm like, oh gosh, like someone get her off that horse. No, I'm not even joking. I needed a seatbelt at that point, which I made it. We're good. But, you know, it's been pretty crazy. And so at the horse show, when I did my first big reining pattern, that sucker was long.
Yeah.
And so even though I had a couple hiccups in the pattern when I got done, that was only the second time I'd ever done flying lead changes on my gelding, and we did it. Like, it was so cool. And then it's just been leaps and bounds with that gelding too, because I did all the groundwork on him before my wreck when I was in 4-H, and so I didn't get to put the first rides on him and things. And so the first time that I got to ride him, I just had a grin from ear to ear, because it was just a big accomplishment because he started as my just bottle baby that I bottle fed out of a bucket. I've been a little nervous about it, but it's getting better. And then spending more time with like the girls that we're gonna end up riding with, and then our coach Clarissa, I've worked out with her a couple times and just kind of told her like what things I'm kind of struggling with and where I need to like build myself up and things. And so I feel like that's helping a lot.
That's good. I know for me, like, obviously being a mom and stuff, but I had the C-section to have the baby, and my pregnancy was so rough. Getting my body back into a point where I feel not just good riding, but comfortable riding again has been really, really hard. Because I can see, I do not ride as well as I used to. Like, Brady took a short video the other day while we were pushing some bulls up to get washed, and I had Layla sitting with me. So my riding wasn't that great just because I had my 30-pound toddler sitting in front of me. But I felt so bad for my horse because my hand's out here and I could see his face and he's like, and I'm like, move, but don't knock the baby off. And I'm like, oh gosh, that's embarrassing because I used to ride a lot better than that. But, going through the wreck and like, obviously I've been going to physical therapy for my hip and things like that. I'm excited to see where you get to.
Yeah.
Just like,
I am too.
Just like in like your ability to move, just like in the body aspect and your body language and how well you're able to ride towards the end of it. Because that's something that our coach Clarissa is amazing at.
Yeah.
And she's so good. Like, this was the big reason that I asked her to be our coach for the team, was because she doesn't just look at the problem and say, okay, you need to do this, this, and this. She gets to the root of why you're doing that first. So she can really help you fix the problem overall. And so you being able to go and work out with her, that is so beneficial. And I think a lot of times people really miss when it comes to healing after accidents or having kids or doing any of that stuff, is like, no, your body needs to be as in shape as your horse does.
Yeah. Honestly, it's so true. Having a horse and using that as therapy helps you so much. I'm as strong as I am because of getting to do horse therapy. You know what I mean?
Right,
like
exactly.
With my own horses. Doing all the flag stuff that I do and going up in mountains and getting cows, that takes so much, of your core and your hips and your legs and stuff. Like coming back to that, we're looking at old videos and I can just feel that when, like my legs are stronger. Like before, I couldn't go all day riding,
Right.
but now I can,
Yeah.
I'm a little sore when I get off, and about that third time getting off and on, I'm like, okay, someone else get a gate because I can't.
Yeah, right. I feel that.
My legs are done.
Yep, I know. I feel that too. We'll be riding with Brady, and I'm like, I'm not getting off because I'm not gonna be able to get back.
Yeah,
on.
It's great though. I mean, less time that you have to get the gate. It's fine.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's why we have men.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I gotta do it.
I think it's been interesting for me personally, gaining my body back and learning how to ride and doing all of that stuff again. The hardest part for me, honestly, has been getting on and off. The riding piece of it, obviously, this side's always really weak. And whenever Brady rides horses after me, he's like, this horse won't move off my leg pressure on this side. And I'm like, sorry, that's my fault. That leg doesn't work. But the getting on and off for the longest time, like, thank God for my very sweet, kind little gelding sloth. He's just so patient with me. But I'd have to, like, I've always gotten on where you get up by the shoulder and you stick your foot in that stirrup and then you bounce up. Because that's how we were taught how to get on colts in college. But for me, I wasn't able to get my leg that high. Like, my other leg wouldn't support me. I could not get on.
Yeah.
So I'd stand back by his butt and stick my leg out as far as I could and get it in that stirrup. And I just haul myself up, which I know isn't good for my horse. And I know he's like, dude, seriously, come on, that's my withers.
Yeah.
But now, recently, after going to physical therapy and stuff, I actually can get on correctly. It's hard still, but I can do it now.
Yeah, I still notice that a lot with me. I definitely don't get on like I should. But it's better. And like the first time I got on by myself, like it was such an accomplishment,
Right.
I think we were up in the mountains riding and I had to get off for something and I was like, gosh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get back on. And I did. I swung my leg up there and the first thing I did was I trotted over to my dad and I was like, I got on by myself, Dad. I was so excited and he was just like, yeah, good job, sis. And so that definitely is though, like one of the hardest things I feel like when you're riding is like the on and off thing, and then it gets even harder when you get older. So I'm like, gosh, what's gonna happen when I'm like 60?
Right, I know, I feel that. Oh my gosh, I hope I can still ride at that age. It's definitely interesting though, watching people. I've taught a lot of lessons. I've worked with a lot of people who've been in accidents and stuff, and they get scared about getting on their horse again and doing that. And it is scary because now you know how fragile you really are. I remember when I first started college, I was like, sure, I'll get on the horse that bucks. I don't care if it bucks me off. It'll be fine. And now I'm like, I'm not putting the first ride on that colt. Are you crazy?
Yeah. It's definitely been a blessing to have good horses now. Like that filly that Brady's gonna ride for me. I would love to do all the beginning stuff, but there's no way. Right. When I come off my gelding now, I'm like, so for like 3 days. So I'm like, I can't.
I think that there really is something to say about having good broke horses, and that doesn't make you less of a cowboy either.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of people are like, oh, well, you gotta ride the rank ones if you're gonna be a true cowboy. And I think that's so false. As much as I would love to just ride green horses and do that and stuff, because I enjoyed it, I was good at it. At this point in my life, like, I'm a mom. Like, I've got a kid I gotta take care of and stuff. I can't pay for those kind of medical bills. I don't bounce like I used to. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that either.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to be going out and starting colts all the time and stuff in order to be a good cowboy.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. So I have a lot of metal in my body, right?
Yeah.
A lot of hardware. It's going to be fun when I die someday and get cremated. Someone better save it in a baggie and like hang it on the wall. I'm not even joking you. Whoever's in charge of that.
If I don't die first, I will make sure it happens.
Like, it needs to be an artwork on the wall for my children someday. But, you know, so I'm always like, I always tease my dad. I'm like, heck, Dad, like, maybe I should go out there and bronc ride and stuff. Like, my bones will probably just bend because all the metal in my body. And he's like, no.
Let's not risk it, thank you very much.
Even though I joke like that, it hurts to fall off.
Yeah,
it
really does not feel good. No.
Same thing. I don't bounce very good anymore.
No. I remember the first time I tried to get on my mare. My husband had just started her, and I went out there and I was like, okay, this will be great. And I got on her and I rode her and everything was fine and stuff until I had to get off. And I like, her name's Big Girl for a reason, you know, she's tall. And I took my foot down and I missed. That was it. I missed and I hit the ground, just boop, right on my butt, and she went pew. I was like, right on the rocks and everything. I was like, well, that was embarrassing. Like, it wasn't too bad. Like, I kind of just fell off. Like, it wasn't really her fault. Nothing serious happened. But I was just like, oh, wow.
Oh, gosh. I remember, so I was never a good bareback rider. Still not. Like,
Yeah.
I can walk and trot. That's about it. You know, and so when I was going through 4-H and stuff, I had one of those moments, you know, the other 4-H members and stuff were like, all my friends, I grew up with them, and they're like, come on, Makaylee, like, do bareback with us. I'm like, all right. And so then Jolene, our 4-H leader, was like, all right, lope, kids. And everybody's like, come on, Makaylee, lope with us. And I was like, oh, gosh. So I'm on my 18-year-old sorrel mare that, you know, is broker than broke. Super great. Yep. Love that horse. Miss her to death. But so I'm like, all right. Peer pressure. So I start off, I do pretty good 3 or 4 strides, and then on my butt I go. And my old mare just stops, and she looks back at me like, what are you doing? Like, why are you on the ground, stupid?
I love when they do that.
That was great. It was so funny.
When I was teaching at the college, I had a lesson day where we did bareback, just to try and teach kids how to kind of use their body better and stuff, do a couple different things. And at the end, we did the dollar bill race, you know. And I was really surprised because my newest and greenest rider, Katrina, actually won. And she was riding one of Wade's like super dead broke horses that was like probably pushing 30. But she did really, really good. And she won the dollar bill race. And right as we won, we're all like, yeah, Katrina, you won. And she goes to stop and she just right off right at the end. And she did so good. And she got up and she was just so happy that she had done good and she won. Like, she didn't even care that she fell off. But I was like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, that was great.
That's hilarious.
Of course, she's young, you know, she bounces a little bit better than I do, but I was really excited because I was like, holy crap, you beat everybody else.
That's so funny. Oh my goodness. Great.
Yep.
I love it.
Good. Well, do you have anything else that you want to say to everybody while you're here?
You know, just come join us. We have a good time and get to spend lots of time with Jesus and have a lot of big things coming up. I'm really excited.
I know, I can't believe how much
our
this year is
salmon
going to
clinic
grow.
is going to be so much fun. I'm so excited. Salmon is absolutely gorgeous. Like, someday having a ranch up there would be so much fun.
That would be so
It'd
nice.
be so pretty.
So, as we progress with Bridles and Bibles, a couple things that we're doing. We've got our book, obviously, that we've talked about in the podcast before. We have our monthly meetings at One Main Ranch. So if you guys are ever interested, you're welcome to come to that. They're like free mini clinics. They last for about an hour or two. And we have a lot of guest speakers that come for that, which is super amazing. We've got some really good ones lined up this year. And then we started doing travel clinics. So like Makaylee said, we've got one coming up in Salmon, Idaho. where we'll travel up there. But if you are ever interested in like the Northwest area and you want to host a travel clinic, contact us. Our email is bridlesandbibles@gmail.com. Send us an email. We'll get you all of the information. You can also check out our website at www.bridlesandbibles.com. And it has all of our information on there, all of our social media that you can follow. We've got so much coming up this year. We're so stinking excited. Thank you so much, my dear, for coming on and hanging out with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. Should we close with prayer?
Yes, I agree.
All right. Dear Jesus, we just want to come to you today and just tell you thank you, God, for amazing friendship, for amazing people that you've just brought into our lives. You've brought into Bridles and Bibles, God. We pray that you just use this ministry and helping us change people's lives, help people change their horsemanship, to grow and learn in you, God. You are so good to us. You've done so much for us, and God, we love you. We thank you, and we trust you, and we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, guys. Till next time. Thank you again.